Welcome back to the channel. If you're into stories that mix history, mystery, and a touch of unbelievable fortune, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into the mind-blowing journey of a tiny 5-cent coin minted in 2001 at the Philadelphia Mint, a coin that somehow skyrocketed in value to an unbelievable $104 million. That's right, this isn't fiction or hype. This is a real story rooted in hidden clues, numismatic intrigue, and a string of coincidences that turned one simple nickel into a piece of history that shook the coin collecting world. So sit tight, because this ride is going to take us to vaults, secret collections, and the obsessive quest of one man who refused to let a mystery die. It all started on a cloudy spring morning in 2018, when an elderly man named Walter Hughes walked into a small pawn shop just outside of Tampa, Florida. Walter was 74 years old, a retired railway engineer who'd spent most of his life collecting coins as a hobby passed down from his grandfather. Over the years, he'd amassed thousands of coins, none particularly rare, but all well-loved and cataloged with handwritten notes. That day, Walter wasn't looking to buy, he was hoping to offload a few coins to make space in his home. But fate had something else in store. As the shop owner, Derek Linwood, flipped through Walter's coin binder, he paused on a 2001 nickel that didn't look like much at first glance. But Derek had a sharp eye and decades of experience with numismatics. He noticed something odd. The surface of the coin shimmered in a way that looked too perfect, almost like a proof coin. But the 2001 nickels weren't supposed to be struck in proof quality at the Philadelphia Mint. They were regular business strikes, plain and plentiful. Derek gently asked Walter if he'd mind leaving the coin for further inspection. Walter shrugged. "Go ahead," he said. "I've had that one for over 20 years. Never thought much of it." What Derek didn't realize at that moment was that the coin he now held in a plastic flip case had a history more tangled and valuable than anything he'd ever encountered in his life. Over the next week, Derek pored over coin catalogs, online databases, and collector forums. He even reached out to a few experts who specialized in error coins and rare mintage varieties. One of them, Angela Fraser, a former curator at the Smithsonian's numismatic division, responded immediately. The email was short and direct. "Can I fly down and see it in person?" Angela arrived 2 days later, and when she examined the coin under a microscope, her breath caught. "This shouldn't exist," she said. "Not unless the rumors were true." She was referring to a long-standing conspiracy in the numismatic world about an experimental batch of nickels that were supposedly minted in 2001 with a composition never before used. Nickels struck in 99.9% pure platinum, camouflaged to look like the standard copper-nickel alloy. The story went that only a handful were struck as a test by a rogue group of mint engineers working late nights without official authorization. According to legend, the coins were supposed to be destroyed once the experiment ended. But one went missing. Most dismissed the tale as folklore, a ghost story among coin collectors. But Angela wasn't so sure anymore. She took the coin to a private lab, funded the metallurgical testing herself, and what came back changed everything. The coin was not made of the usual alloy. In fact, it wasn't made of any officially documented composition for U.S. coins. It had traces of platinum, rhodium, and a layering technique that suggested high-level minting technology far beyond anything used for nickels at the time. But the mystery didn't stop there. Further investigation revealed microscopic laser-etched symbols along the rim of the coin, symbols that matched encryption codes used by the U.S. Treasury in classified documents during the early 2000s. Angela contacted a friend in Washington who once worked in intelligence. After a long pause on the phone, he said, "You might be holding a piece of a cancelled government project. You need to be careful." The FBI showed up at Derek's pawn shop 3 days later. They didn't seize the coin, but they asked a lot of questions. Where did Walter get it? Had he sold others? Was he aware of any unusual history connected to the coin? Walter was bewildered. He remembered getting it as change from a diner back in 2002. It had sat in his collection ever since, moved from binder to binder, often ignored. But now, the full weight of its significance began to dawn on him. When the story leaked to the press, it caused a sensation. Collectors and conspiracy theorists alike went wild. Headlines read, "Secret U.S. government coin found," and $104 million nickel discovered in Florida. The attention attracted buyers from around the world. Hedge fund managers, museums, tech billionaires, everyone wanted a piece of the mystery. After months of private bidding wars, a deal was finalized. The coin sold at a private auction for a staggering $104 million to a buyer who chose to remain anonymous. The coin disappeared from public view, locked away in a private vault somewhere in Switzerland, never to be seen again. But this is where things get really interesting. Following the coin's sale, a string of strange events began to unfold. Walter's home was broken into, not once, but 3 times. Nothing was stolen, but his coin books were clearly rifled through. Derek's pawn shop was firebombed one night, causing thousands in damages but oddly sparing the coin catalog he had created during the research process. Angela, meanwhile, was followed for weeks by unmarked vehicles. Her phone lines were tapped. She eventually relocated to South America under a new name. The coin, she later wrote in a letter to a colleague, was never about money. It was about something much bigger. It was proof that the mint had been used for experiments no one wanted the public to know about. Theories exploded online. Some believed the coin was a test run for currency encryption using precious metals, part of a post-9/11 government strategy to secure the money supply. Others believed the coin had ties to a cancelled CIA operation involving financial destabilization tactics in foreign economies. A few even claimed it had alien origins, though that group was promptly laughed off the forums. But in the midst of all this, something else happened. Collectors all over the country began re-examining their own 2001 nickels. They pulled them from jars, piggy banks, and albums, scanning for anything odd. A few reported similar shimmer effects. One man in Oregon claimed he had another with laser etchings. He disappeared a month later while hiking in the mountains. His car was found at a trailhead. The coin he spoke of was never recovered. The coin that Walter once thought was just another nickel had, in truth, opened a Pandora's box of secrets, hidden experiments, and a glimpse into the ways coins can hold more than just monetary value. They can hold secrets. They can hold stories. And they can shake the very fabric of history. The numismatic community is still divided. Some experts continue to deny the possibility of such a coin being made without any record. Others argue that the very absence of records is the point, that some things were meant to be forgotten. But one thing remains certain: no 5-cent coin in U.S. history has ever been sold for such a high price, and none has left behind a trail of questions quite like the 2001 nickel. As for Walter, he moved to a quiet lakeside property in Vermont, built a small cabin, and rarely speaks to the media. When asked once in a rare interview what the coin meant to him, he smiled and said, "It taught me that even the smallest things can hold the biggest truths. Sometimes, you just have to look a little closer." And that, dear viewers, is the incredible story of how a humble nickel, struck in 2001, became a symbol of secrecy, curiosity, and the wild, unpredictable world of coin collecting. If this story fascinated you even half as much as it did us, you know what to do. Like this video, subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable tales, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload. Until next time, keep your eyes open. Who knows, there might be a $104 million coin sitting in your pocket right now. Next. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing tales in modern numismatics. A story that begins with a pocket change discovery and ends in a staggering $73 million whirlwind. That's right, we're talking about the 2008 5 cents coin, a seemingly ordinary nickel that holds an extraordinary legacy. This isn't just a story about money, this is a story about mystery, fate, passion, and the unpredictable nature of history. It all began on a quiet Tuesday morning in late 2019 in rural Pennsylvania. Walter Jennings, a retired railroad engineer and longtime hobbyist coin collector, was sipping his usual cup of dark roast coffee while leafing through his recent coin haul from a local flea market. Among the tarnished dimes, worn quarters, and a few suspiciously foreign tokens, his eyes caught something unusual. A 2008 P5 coin sat awkwardly among the others, its luster dull but with a strange, almost magnetic presence. Walter didn't think much of it at first. The coin had the standard Monticello design on the reverse and Jefferson's profile on the obverse. But something was just off. The texture felt different. It was slightly heavier, and the edges were a little sharper than what he was used to. His fingers, trained from years of sorting through thousands of coins, tingled with a kind of instinctual alertness. He placed the coin aside on his kitchen table under a small magnifying lamp and got to work. The following day, he examined the coin under his jeweler's loupe and noticed that the mint mark, P, seemed oddly recessed, unlike any minting he'd seen from that year. Intrigued, he did what any modern coin collector would do. He turned to online forums. His post on the Numischat forum was short and modest. Strange 2008 P nickel, heavier, sharper rim, recessed mint mark. Anyone seen this? Within hours, replies flooded in. Most users shrugged it off, saying it was likely a strike anomaly or just post-mint damage. But one user stood out, a mysterious profile under the name Speckle8. Speckle8 messaged Walter privately and asked if he would consider sending detailed photos. Walter obliged, uploading high-resolution images taken from his DSLR camera. After a few hours of silence, Speckle8 responded with only 3 words. "You have gold." Those words changed everything. Now deeply curious, Walter weighed the coin with a digital scale. It registered at 5.32 grams, slightly over the standard 5 grams for a nickel. He took it to a local jeweler who confirmed his suspicion. The coin had a higher metal density. Next, Walter drove 2 hours to the nearest coin appraisal center in Philadelphia. The numismatist on duty, Amanda Clark, examined the coin under laboratory conditions and was visibly shaken. "This isn't just a minting error," she said. "This is something we've never seen before." Further metallurgical tests revealed the coin was made from a rare alloy mix, over 70% platinum, 25% nickel, and trace elements of titanium. This was completely uncharacteristic for any U.S. circulation coin. The blend made it highly resilient to wear and uniquely heavy. Amanda theorized that this could be the result of a clandestine test batch never meant to leave the U.S. Mint. Word got out. Within weeks, coin collectors, historians, journalists, and curious onlookers began hounding Walter for details. The Numischat forum exploded with theories. Some claimed the coin was part of a secret experimental batch. Others suggested it had been accidentally made during a materials swap when the mint was testing alternate metals due to rising costs. And then there were the conspiracy theorists, who believed it had ties to a secret government project during the Bush administration's final months. The U.S. Mint declined to comment officially but confirmed that no known record of a platinum-nickel hybrid coin existed in their 2008 records. A Freedom of Information Act request turned up heavily redacted documents about experimental runs and unauthorized alloy blending, but no definitive mention of a 2008 5-cent coin with those properties. Meanwhile, Walter, overwhelmed by the media frenzy and offers to purchase the coin, decided to take it off the market and hide it in a safety deposit box. He hired an attorney and a security firm to guard the bank vault. Offers from private collectors began pouring in: $50,000, $200,000, $500,000. But Walter refused to sell. Then came the turning point. In March 2021, a private auction house in Zurich contacted Walter. They were hosting an ultra-exclusive numismatic auction, attended by billionaires, royalty, and the elite of the coin-collecting world. They offered to fly him out and list the coin with a starting price of $2 million. Reluctantly, Walter agreed. The auction took place in a grand ballroom adorned with chandeliers and velvet drapes. The coin was encased in a temperature-controlled, bulletproof glass display. Bidding started fast and aggressive. Within 10 minutes, the price hit $5 million. But it didn't stop. 10 million. 20. 30. And then, with gasps echoing through the room, a buyer from the United Arab Emirates placed a final bid of $73 million. The room fell silent. The gavel dropped. Walter, stunned and speechless, had just become a multimillionaire from a single nickel. The buyer's identity was never publicly revealed. All that is known is that he represented a private museum currently under construction in Abu Dhabi, which intends to house rare global artifacts, including the 2008 P5 coin as one of their crown jewels. The coin was flown out under armed escort, and is now kept in a high-security vault awaiting the museum's opening. But the story doesn't end there. In the wake of the auction, collectors everywhere began re-examining their change. Stories of similar coins began to emerge. One was found in a Seattle pawn shop. Another turned up in a child's coin collection in Nebraska. Each time, the coin was verified as a standard nickel. False hope after false hope. But then, in August 2022, a second legitimate platinum alloy 2008 P5 coin surfaced in New Orleans. This one, however, had a micro-engraving beneath Jefferson's collar, a barely visible alphanumeric code, E9LM78. When decrypted using a pattern common in military cipher systems, it appeared to be coordinates. Those coordinates led to a small, decommissioned warehouse once owned by a subcontractor of the U.S. Mint. Investigators, journalists, and treasure hunters swarmed the location. Inside, they found ledgers, outdated machinery, and several metal storage units. In one of them, buried beneath dust and rust, lay a sealed crate marked Experimental Batch 5 NCE9. Inside were exactly 7 coins, all resembling the 2008 P5 piece that made Walter famous. The crate also contained internal memos detailing a plan by the Mint to create ultra-durable coinage for use in extreme environments, possibly even outer space. The plan was scrapped after budget constraints and changes in administration. The coins were never meant to be released to the public. Only 3 of those coins were in mint condition. 1 was damaged. 2 were incomplete blanks. And 1 had been sliced clean in half, possibly for material analysis. The entire crate was confiscated by the Department of Treasury, citing national security interests. Of the original 2008 platinum alloy nickels, it is believed that no more than 10 were ever made. Walter's coin remains the most pristine and most valuable of them all. Today, that single nickel is more than just currency. It's a symbol, a reminder that sometimes, buried in the mundane, lies the extraordinary. A coin passed through countless hands before it found the one person who knew to look closer. It teaches us that history has layers, and that sometimes, the smallest objects carry the heaviest weight of untold stories. If you've ever doubted the magic of coin collecting, let this be your sign. Keep checking your pockets. Dig through those jars of change. Visit flea markets, garage sales, and thrift stores. Because who knows? The next $73 million discovery might just be hiding in plain sight. Thanks for sticking around until the end of this incredible story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another jaw-dropping story from the world of rare coins. We've got plenty more amazing tales coming your way. See you in the next one. Last, we're diving deep into the unbelievable story of the 2011 D5 coin that, against all odds, ended up being worth a staggering $39 million. This isn't just a tale of metal and minting, it's a story woven with mystery, history, a twist of fate, and one man's life that was changed forever by a coin no bigger than a button. It all started in a quiet suburb outside of Denver, Colorado, in the early fall of 2021. A man named Clark Henley, 43 years old at the time, was cleaning out his late uncle's garage. His uncle, Ernest Henley, had been a known recluse, a retired railway worker who lived alone and collected what many thought was just a bunch of junk. Boxes of old tools, newspapers, soda bottles, and piles upon piles of coins littered the dark corners of the dusty garage. Clark wasn't even sure why he volunteered to help clean it out, except for a vague sense of duty and curiosity about what his eccentric uncle had left behind. As Clark dug through the cobwebbed corners, he stumbled upon a rusted metal box hidden beneath a tattered tarp. It was heavy, locked, and looked like it hadn't been opened in years. After prying it open with a screwdriver, he found what he expected: more coins. But these were a little different. The coins inside were neatly rolled and labeled by year: 2005, 2006, 2007, and then, near the bottom, a single roll marked 2011 Denver. Clark had no idea that what he held was the beginning of a life-changing journey. He took the roll, out of simple curiosity, and started unwrapping it on the kitchen table that evening. He enjoyed coin collecting casually as a kid but hadn't thought much about it in years. As the paper peeled away and the shiny nickels clinked onto the table, one of them immediately caught his eye. It looked almost like the others, Jefferson's profile on one side, Monticello on the other. But something was off. The rim was slightly irregular. The coin's shine was somehow different, even unnatural. And the D mid-mark seemed misaligned, slightly sunken into the coin rather than neatly pressed. Clark picked it up and inspected it under the light. He thought it was probably a mint error, maybe even a counterfeit, but it intrigued him enough to post a few photos of the coin on a collector's forum later that night. He didn't expect much of a response. The forum was active, but posts like his were common and often ignored. But this time, something strange happened. Within minutes, he received 3 messages from veteran members, all urging him to not sell the coin and to get it authenticated immediately. One user, who claimed to be a retired Mint employee, left a comment that made Clark sit up straight. "If that's what I think it is, you might be holding a piece of U.S. minting history. Be very careful." The following morning, Clark packed the coin in a protective holder and took it to a reputable coin dealer in Denver. The dealer, a soft-spoken man named Eli Rivera, examined the coin under a magnifier for several minutes without saying a word. Finally, he looked up and asked Clark if he'd be willing to leave the coin for further testing. Clark hesitated but agreed. Something in Eli's expression told him that this wasn't just about a simple nickel anymore. Over the next few days, Clark received several calls, not just from Eli, but from numismatic researchers, collectors, and even a private museum representative in New York. Word had spread quickly, and so had the rumors. Apparently, the 2011 D5-cent coin Clark had found bore characteristics of a known but supposedly destroyed prototype, a test strike coin from the Denver Mint that had never been released into circulation. The story of this coin's origin traced back to a short-lived experimental project in 2010. The U.S. Mint had been exploring cost-saving alternatives due to rising nickel prices. One of the proposals involved a composite metal that resembled traditional nickels but had a slightly different weight and a unique reflective finish. Several test runs were conducted, but the results were considered unsatisfactory. The project was scrapped, and all known prototypes were reportedly destroyed. All, except, apparently, one. How that coin made it out of the Mint was anyone's guess. Some speculated it was taken as a souvenir by an employee who didn't realize its future significance. Others believed it was accidentally rolled into a regular batch and released. No one could say for certain, but the tests performed on Clark's coin revealed that it was indeed a match to the experimental alloy, and even more astonishing, it had the correct die markers that confirmed it was one of the prototypes. The discovery sparked a media frenzy. Coin World ran a front-page feature titled, "The $1 Million Nickel?" and interviews with Clark became common across TV, podcasts, and YouTube channels dedicated to rare finds. Offers started rolling in. First $1 million. Then $3 million. By the end of the month, a European collector offered $12 million. Clark, overwhelmed, declined every offer, unsure of what to do next. As months passed, the legend of the 2011 D5-cent coin only grew. Experts agreed that the coin was not just rare, it was unique. The only known surviving test piece of a failed experimental run. Eventually, a consortium of private investors, acting on behalf of a historical museum dedicated to U.S. currency, made a final, jaw-dropping offer, $39 million. Clark was stunned. That was more money than he'd ever imagined in his wildest dreams. But even more than the money, it was the idea that a tiny object lost in a forgotten garage for a decade could alter history that struck him the most. He accepted the offer under one condition, that the coin would be displayed publicly and that a portion of the proceeds be donated to educational programs in honor of his uncle, whose unassuming collection had hidden such a treasure. Today, the coin resides behind bulletproof glass in the American Monetary Heritage Museum in Washington, D.C. Visitors from around the world come to see the tiny 5-cent piece that almost never was. Schoolchildren stare wide-eyed as they learn about how history, science, and a little luck can come together in the smallest of objects. And Clark Henley? He lives a quieter life now, away from the spotlight, using his fortune to fund local libraries and community programs that teach kids the value of curiosity. But perhaps the most remarkable part of this story is what it teaches us, not just about money or rarity, but about how every coin, every object we ignore or take for granted, might hold a secret. That nickel in your pocket? It might just be next.so the next time you find a coin on the ground, think twice before walking away. Because who knows? You might be the next person to uncover a multi-million-dollar mystery hiding in plain sight. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more unbelievable tales of rare coins and forgotten fortunes, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you never miss a story that could change your life. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your change close, because history might be jingling in your pocket.